how would a person demonstrate his knowledge, his claim that he has knowledge of God in his everyday life, especially a Mason?
My answer to that question is, I don't know. The most likely events, I would think, would be simply that good things happen to him. And when bad things are about to happen to him, he's guided away from them. That would be the only, not because of any action he takes, but simply because of the way the world works for him. But I don't know.
Well, Masonry claims that it doesn't make bad men good. We're speaking now about acting out one's faith. But that it makes good men better. So we're really talking about this connection between a man's either belief in or trust in the divine and acting that out in a moral way. So the question that comes to mind is, especially for the entered apprentice, what are the indicators along the way of what a Masonic kind of morality would be that would demonstrate this relationship with the divine?
Well, a Masonic kind of morality is a difficult question from my point of view, because we tell the man, the brother, that we expect him to practice his own religious principles, and he will derive his moral criteria from his religious teachings. I don't think there is a great deal of contradiction between the moral teachings of the various religions, but in fact I think fundamentally they are very similar. But how will they be demonstrated? I think that depends not only upon the nature of morality in his case, but also upon the general circumstances of his life. And that will vary with each individual and the various circumstances.
For a moment, can we talk about the process of initiation that an entered apprentice goes through from the time he knocks at the door to the time he stands a just and upright entered apprentice in the northeast corner of that lodge? How would you explain this in terms of either the ascent that we were speaking of before, of the spirit, or of the very initiatic experience itself?
Well, the first situation, the thing is that he must knock on the door of the lodge, which is to say, he must take action to initiate the process himself. It will never be done to him without him seeking to start it. The second thing is, he is received on the point of a sharp instrument, such that, symbolically, not actually, if he rushed forward, he would do damage to himself. In a similar way, he's wearing a cable around his neck, which would make it impossible for him to return. In other words, he's entering an environment, the psyche, which can be hazardous. And as soon as he goes in and knows its existence, he cannot unknow it, he cannot go back. He must proceed with care and under the guidance which is provided for him by the lodge, and also provided for him, in fact, by his inner being. he then goes round the lodge and is tested by his inner being to ensure that his approach to this ascent that he is seeking is something that for which he is properly prepared. Having passed these, he takes an obligation that essentially says he will hold close the things that he learns about himself as he rises. And when that obligation is over, we have got to the part where he is an upright Mason. That takes us through that part of it.
That obligation where he is going to hold to himself what he learns about himself, is that the connection with what people talk about when they normally discuss the secrets of a Master Mason or of an apprentice Mason?
Well, let me say that there are no Masonic secrets. As I'm sure you know, if you go to an anti-Masonic website, all the things which we are obligated to hold close are available there. But the purpose of the obligation of secrecy is not to hold Masonic secrets close. The purpose is that if one is experiencing this a mystical ascent, one will learn things about oneself which are sensitive and important for oneself. And one should not share this important personal information with persons who cannot understand it. In fact, I would say that we teach through symbols, and the symbol of secrecy says, really, do not give valuable personal information to those, valuable personal material, to those who cannot understand it. This is not a new idea. 2,000 years ago, the most important teacher in the history of Western civilization said, "Neither cast ye your pearls before swine." The idiom is different, but it's don't give valuable personal material to those who can't understand it.
Speaking of symbolism, the candidate encounters this famous symbol of Freemasonry, the square and the compasses. And it's significant because it represents that very moral certitude that comes from knowing the right thing to do and doing it with deliberation and with intention. But could you talk a little bit more about the square and the compass, especially as it relates to the entered apprentice and how he's to understand it in his life?
May I say that I would like to talk about not simply the square and the compasses, but the three great lights, the volume of the sacred law, the square, and the compasses. Now, for me, those three objects represent the three upper worlds. The volume of the sacred law represents divinity, which is the source of the volume of the sacred law. The compasses represent the spirit. The square represents the soul, which is the principal element of the psyche. And if you think about the candidate and his relationship to these three objects, at the time he takes his obligation, then his body represents the physical world. So the candidate's body and the three great lights represent the four worlds of which are present, of which some part of the candidate is in each one.
It's very interesting that at the time the candidate is at the altar taking his obligation, he's not just functioning on the physical level then.
Mm-hmm. No, he is making a relationship through all four worlds.
Those four worlds being the physical,
The psychological, the spiritual, the divine.